in the heart of what I call big ranch country.
This is big country veteran. This is what it's all about.
I've been out 10 years and I've never even done anything like this.
Now, this is what I'm talking about.
Unbelievable experience.
Well, we're back here at the Two Hats in a Microphone podcast. Gary Pierce.
Willis Richardson.
And we've got our good friend, Cody Palmer from Big Country Veterans here in Parker County.
That's right.
He is the director of Big Country Veterans. They're a veterans organization here in Parker County. And we've gotten, probably about a year now, we've really gotten to know your group and yourself and just really kind of leaning in really with you guys and what you're doing. And it's a real cool story. So we wanted to invite Cody out to chat with us a little bit and really learn more about their organization, your organization, and kind of what you guys have coming up and some of the events. We'll post some videos around some of the events that they've done here recently. Our guy Mark Luss got to embark on the first, not the first, but his first hog hunt with Big Country Veterans. So we'll probably have to get some inside scoop on that because I think the numbers that I heard from Mark may not be.
We'll make sure they're accurately portrayed here.
Okay,
today.
good deal.
Sure. Absolutely.
No fish stories here.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Too big.
Apparently that's for another trip that they're going on.
Yeah, they're going on.
About that as well. Yep, for sure.
So,
But Gary
awesome.
Willis, thanks for having me today. I really appreciate it. And
Yeah.
It's been an honor on behalf of Big Country Veterans to just get more involved in Parker County.
Yep.
We didn't originate in Parker County, but we have found it to be kind of our home away from home from our main event that we do, the helicopter hog hunt.
Right.
And just getting to know everyone in this community has just led to us deciding to even, put a flag down in a physical location that we operate and can support our veterans from in Parker County. So we're really excited for that.
So where'd you originate from then?
So the organization kind of originated from a singular event, and we're talking about the helicopter hog hunt. It started in a little town called Truscott, Texas. And so if you don't, if you know where that's at, I'm being impressed for one.
I don't.
But it's north of Abilene, west of Wichita Falls, and east of Lubbock. So it's kind of right there in the middle.
Okay.
If you know where Seymour, Texas is, it's just west of Seymour.
Okay.
And it's held on the Circle Bar Ranch, which the Daniel family, which is an amazing family first and foremost, they open up their home for that weekend for veterans and sponsors and volunteers alike to just kind of be theirs for the weekend and connect. And it started, there was an organization here in Dallas-Fort Worth that was hosting a helicopter hog hunt, and they decided, hey, we'd like to do it in a different place, find something a little bit more remote, allow the veterans to connect. And so that's when they reached out to my best friend, one of my best friends, Colton Daniel. Again, their family owns a Circle Bar, and asked if they could come do that out there at their ranch, and they agreed to it. And then I got a call from Colton to say, hey, we're going to be hosting a helicopter hog hunt for veterans. Is something you want to help with? And at that time, I was actually finishing up and did finish up physical therapy school. So my backstory or my profession technically is I have a doctorate in physical therapy.
Okay.
And grew up in the ranching community. Actually graduated my undergrad with wildlife and fisheries management of all things. So I was the only one going into PT school at that undergraduate.
I was going to say
That's true. That's true. Where'd you graduate with that degree from?
So I graduated from Texas Tech.
Okay.
So that's actually where I met Colton.
Okay.
We were two just ranch kids growing up in the dorms there, trying to figure life out in college, wondering what the heck we were going to do.
You didn't play music? Isn't that what all the tech guys do there?
No.
You start a band?
But I did play rugby of all things. That's a kind of a interesting story there. I got involved in that, but that's where a lot of my friends that I met there as well. But met Colton in the dorms. We were actually kind of dorm roommates, lived next to each other, and ran into each other about week 2 into college, wondering, hey man, we're just two small kids from really small towns, and wondering what we're doing in this big world now, and figured out we had a lot in common from ranching communities, how we grew up, and kind of the rest is history, as I say. We just kind of became best friends at that point. So when the opportunity came up for the event to be hosted at their ranch, he reached out to me and it's a working cattle ranch. So in my mind, going through physical therapy school or just finishing, I was like, I'd love to come out there and make sure from a mobility side of things, from all that, because a lot of these veterans that come out tend to be wounded, and so being able to make sure they can access the ranch and do everything that we were able to do at the time. So it started as that, as simple as it could be, and started making connections with some pretty amazing veterans that came out there.
Right.
And then the organization that was hosting it decided they were going to step down in 2019 and came to Colton and some other leaders that were there and asked if we wanted to take it over. And it was about a month and a half before the event was set to kick off. And so we kind of looked at each other and said, yeah, let's do it. Yeah. And a lot of the reason was because we saw something much deeper that was happening when they were off the helicopters. And that's what we wanted to focus on at that time. And so in 2019, we hosted under the banner of Big Country Veterans. That's when Big Country Veterans technically was formed at that time. And it continued to be just an event until 2021, where the veterans that we were getting involved, for one, are just amazing human beings. Right. Two, we started getting a connection with the combat community, and specifically the special operations community, where a lot of these veterans that have done just incredible things for our country haven't really sought out maybe connection and help with organizations, and we were the first one that they came to. And then they kind of felt the genuineness and authenticity that was there and decided they wanted to be a part of it. And so that's when we decided, hey, this is more than just the hog hunt. And we started expanding out. I took over the role as executive director at that time, and we started really asking them, what more can we do to help? Yeah. What can we do now that they had this amazing experience? What's the next step? Yeah. Because the one thing I didn't want us to be was, I wouldn't say a one and done, but like have a great weekend retreat feeling, and then nothing afterwards. Right. To me, the hog hunt in itself was kind of the launching pad and starting point, kind of the filter to get our veterans into what we term kind of the BCV family.
So that's your flagship event.
So that's yes, sir. That's our flagship event. We continue to do that. That we really focus on bringing a quality group of veterans in every year that is actually curated and referenced and referred to by veterans that have been there before, sponsors that have been there that really understand what that's about. Yeah. And so we bring in a group of veterans every year to add to that BCB family, and it just continues to grow every year. And then outside of that, we then hopefully, as if they want to, plug into the additional things that we've stood up from a veteran support program side.
So under BCV umbrella, this was year five.
We did take a break during COVID.
So it was fourth year.
So we hosted an event in 2019 and then 2021, and then that's when 21 kind of really started exploding beyond just the hog hunt at that point.
How many alumni now?
Oh gosh, we are over 100. I think like 125 like total that have been in there, and then if we kind of go even beyond that, like from the events that happened before, we're getting close to 200.
Oh wow! Okay, that's awesome. And they're from all over the country.
All over the country.
That's awesome.
So,
what other events are you doing besides the hog hunt? Like events, and then what's some of the help that you're able to offer that people can plug into after?
Well, once we decided, hey, we're going to take this on and run an organization, not an event. When we decided to do that, we said, what's going to be meaningful to these veterans? And so many of them came back afterwards and reached out and wrote letters to us saying, man, this was probably one of the most powerful weekends of my life. Yeah. But when I got home, I had a hard time explaining that to my loved one, to my spouse. Yeah. And so we looked at each other and said, why don't we do something for them? Bring them back to the ranch and do something where they can be in the same ground, stand on the same piece of earth that they experience that, and just have their loved one present. Yep. And so that's when we started standing up BCB couples retreats. Yep. And so we're hosting those throughout the year, multiple of them now due to additional funding that we had to do to support that. And then we do additional hunting, fishing, outdoor adventure trips for these veterans to kind of come back in smaller groups and pods to be able to reconnect and always be looking forward to that next thing, stay connected. That was something that kind of morphed into prior to us taking the event over, there were like these hunting fishing trips that were used as a live auction to raise money during the event. And when we had the opportunity to take the event over, I looked around and said, hey, man, these organizations, these outfitters are gifting this to us.
Yeah.
Why don't we gift it right back to the veterans and allow that to happen?
Yeah.
We'll create funding another way. This weekend's not necessarily about that. Yes, funding is created. There's sponsors that help fund that and additionally beyond that. But to me, let's utilize those to continue what our mission is.
Yeah.
Is to bring communities together to help veterans and their families conquer life after combat. That's really what it was about. And so we're doing some really cool stuff now. Actually, about a month from now, we're doing a python hunt in Florida. So you guys are going to go out to Everglades on airboats.
Wait. How many pythons?
I need
Are they
Willis
like?
on that hunt.
Are these like pythons that people let out of their aquariums, or like how?
So
that doesn't seem natural.
So what's interesting, just like kind of here in Texas, where we're actually helping a lot of the landowners with the overpopulation of hogs with helicopter hunting. Same thing kind of happened in Florida. Obviously, they a lot of people had pets for pythons. Now they're becoming a very invasive species out there, and so it's kind of become a big thing. That iguana hunting, they're going to do that. Some fishing. Let's put it this way: they got to take a 30-minute airboat just to get where they're staying out in the Everglades. It's going to be kind of right up the alley of to connect with what these guys kind of maybe I wouldn't say are lacking, but seek. Some of that. So
you got to look up on YouTube some of these hunting videos of these pythons. And these guys, I'm talking about the heads on these pythons are like massive. And these dudes, they're like, I don't know, 140 pound. I mean, they're massive.
I'll send you a picture. We got a picture from the outfitters dentist that's taking these guys out, and I think it was like, I don't know, 10 feet long and like just a big female.
It's
massive. It's just crazy. There's
a guy on Instagram that I flip through and his stuff comes up and I can't get my head around it. Number one, I hate snakes.
I see.
There's nothing about that trip. I'm completely.
It's for a very unique set of individuals. I say that for sure.
I see the iguanas. Like people are jumping on them while they're swimming and grabbing them because there's some kind of turn in. You can turn them in for a reward or something in Florida.
Yeah, it's a big problem, and it's kind of interesting. You know, I talk about my previous life before this, but bringing in like range and wildlife management. That's technically kind of what we're doing in a lot of ways, helping the landowners, helping the ecosystem out, and then from a medical side of things. So that's additionally what we're doing now as well as we're partnering with Parker Performance Institute with a project that they're called the Invicta Project.
Okay.
And so they're taking veterans, PTSD, TBI related that were and first responders. A lot of them obviously from combat. They're finding a lot of research now, especially with blast wave percussions, even the training that they had to go through, causing long-term deficits in their life.
Sure.
And we toured the facility and saw, to me, like knowing kind of that side of profession, I actually did. When I first got out of PT school, I worked for Baylor Institute for Rehab, worked for their kind of neurology division and brain injury, spinal cord, all that kind of stuff. So to have that little bit of background when we went and toured the facility to see, man, they're doing some great new age, very direct and hopefully effect their lives in a very good way, and one that's long lasting. So they come about it from a neurology, physiology, and integrated healthcare side of things. They have neurologists on board, dietitians, chiropractors, like all these things, and they look at these individuals head to toe, holistic look, and say, hey, we're going to develop this program. This is what we see that's happening physiologically, and we're going to develop this program to help you. Because so many times, for a lot of these veterans, at least the ones that we serve, I think they get bundled under the umbrella of like PTSD. When in reality, it's a lot of like comorbidities, things like that happens from a high stress environment. And some individuals that weren't in the military kind of have effects from this. Lack of sleep, hormone imbalances, all those kind of things, where you can actually put some effort and focus into affecting that. It changes that whole outlook on life. I mean, just anybody, like physically when you're feeling better, mentally you're usually sharper, all those things. Makes a huge impact. And so what's great about this, it's an intense program. They go in for 2 weeks, designed specifically for them. Then they follow them for a year, and then they have that resource for the rest of their life, which is a rare thing to find in this community. And so we tied with them. We're actually sponsoring with them. We're a partner with Park Performance Institute, where we're sponsoring 8 veterans to go through that program throughout the year.
Oh wow!
And so
will that be
no cost to them.
Every year you'll enroll eight folks.
Every year, and then hope of as we do more, and to your point, like more events that we put up for funding, things like that. Hopefully, we can continue to increase that number with them as well. So pretty amazing stuff.
That's amazing. Are they? So where are they? Are they?
So they're actually in Frisco.
Oh, they're in Frisco.
So they're in Frisco.
They just happen to be called Parker.
Yeah, Parker Performance Institute. Yeah, it's
Nothing
not
to do with Parker County.
Yeah, I know, right? There's a lot of
all
Parkers
around.
going on around here. But they're actually headquartered right by Jerry World out there.
Oh,
Where
okay.
the new Stars at.
the
Right there in
The
Frisco
Star.
area.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool.
So they'll fly them in, bring them in for that program, and then, like I said, have access to the rest of their life once they go through that.
Oh,
so
wow.
we're really excited.
Yeah,
Our
that's
first group our first two veterans are going through June 10th, so in a few weeks.
Couple weeks, yeah.
And it's actually a couple, so it's a husband and wife, both were combat in military, both had effects from that. One of them cancer related too, so we're really excited for them to go through this program and see what kind of impact it can have on our lives.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah.
We'll get some information out on that as
Yeah.
well. That way people can do the research on that. It's amazing what you guys are able to get done in just a short time. I mean, so like for you personally, I mean, obviously you came from the PT world into this, kind of nonprofit. How was that from a business mindset? I mean, because it's a whole different animal, right? Like I'm kind of going off on a tangent here, but what's that been like for you personally?
Incredible for one.
Right.
I think growing up, I did so many things. If you kind of look at my resume, you're like, what? Did you not know what you wanted to do in life? Apparently.
Still do.
But I will say, exactly.
I'm there. And
When I grow up, let me know.
Man, but it's definitely bringing in a different part of life than I ever expected growing up. So I'm kind of fourth generation rancher, like ranch hand. Like my dad, my grandfathers, all those. And so to not be horseback right now is different than what I kind of envisioned growing up. But I always kind of had this empathy and desire to help people.
Sure.
And so that's what I think kind of led into, for one, deciding not to do range and wildlife stuff. I did some work with Texas Parks and Wildlife, which I love, but it was secluded and I wasn't having that interaction with people that I guess was part of how I'm wired.
Yeah.
And so then I started looking at what is the next thing to do. I hurt myself a lot growing up playing sports, things like that.
Right.
And honestly, physical therapy was a big part of my life growing up, but it was because those people I really connected with. I look back, I was like, man, I remember those people. I really, those people really impacted my life at a time where I needed it. And so I thought, man, that sounds great. So I literally applied to one physical therapy school. I was like, well, if I get in, I get in. And so I applied to UT Southwestern Medical Center in Dallas. And so many of the kids were like, hey, how many schools did you apply to? I was like, one. They're like, one. I was like, yeah, I'll make it. So that's exactly right.
Either in or out.
But out of, I think, 400-something applicants, they took 30 of us. And so very competitive, but got in, loved it. And I loved helping people, I think, was a big part of it. And so the transition, I think, from that aspect has been fairly seamless and probably more on the line because unfortunately how the medical system is working these days. You don't get as much actual interaction with people than you used to. And I was actually working for a home health agency at the time where when it's kind of like you do well, then they don't let you do what you did well, and now you got to teach other people or manage other people at that point. And so I'd stopped directly treating patients for 4 or 5 years before I stepped down. I was doing some contract work on the side, but not direct. And so I kind of longed for that, I think.
Yeah.
And so when the opportunity came up to move into the executive director role for Big Country Veterans, it was kind of one of those kind of God things, just at the right timing.
Sure.
And jumped in, not knowing what I was doing at all. I will say that. But I will say the people and the veterans that we have a part of this was just a guiding light.
Yeah.
From the very beginning, Big Country Veterans had just felt like a vehicle for them.
Yeah.
And so at that point, I was just keeping it between the lines, and still doing that and listening to them and driving that forward. But we've had just amazing people from our board to volunteers to just the veterans that come back and serve. It's just been incredible. So as far as the transition, it was something different. I will say that. And probably coming from a lack of experience in the nonprofit world, might have actually helped us a little bit because
Right.
we're just coming in, just thinking, hey, we know what we want to do. We have a kind of a vision and a mission in mind, and just getting people behind it has not been a challenge because I think of really authenticity and really what we're trying to do.
It's hard not to get excited about the organization and what you guys are doing. I mean, the first day we met, I mean, when you told the story on it, I was like, all right, we got to get involved.
Sure.
Like, plain and simple. And if you haven't got a chance to check out Cody's team and what they're doing online, it is truly amazing. I mean, I can speak from pretty close-hand experience now because Mark, who's on our team, I'm not sure. It's been about a month since the hog hunt,
Right.
and his feet still may not be on the ground yet. So I mean, we were getting, updates all weekend.
Yeah, I was asking Mark, because you giving Gary and Willis a hard time? He's like, oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. He was giving us we were definitely envious of that weekend. So it's just unbelievable. Yep. So kind of talk about, like, I mean, obviously personal stuff, but like, some of the wins that you guys have seen, like some of the veterans that have come through, and like talk about some of those things, because I think that's the stuff that you're really getting to is, you had mentioned earlier, these guys, I mean, we're all, guys are guys, right? Like, they're not going to reach out, and, special forces, they've been at the top of their game, and we all think we can figure it out. Talk about that a little bit more, like what the wins look like once they've kind of gotten that experience.
Yeah, as you're speaking, a story kind of comes to mind that our veterans, this specific veteran has allowed us to share, but it was kind of one of the turning points for me and for our organization to be like, all right, this is real. Like, this is affecting people on a very deep level. So in 2021, we had a veteran come out, and kind of from the very beginning, kind of shy, kind of back of the room, not speaking much. By the end of the weekend, kind of had that transition, and talking to him, had a great time. Well, I didn't realize the impact that it made until we received a letter from him. Okay. And he sent us a letter. He was in a really dark place right before going, and I think that's, I know that's why he was referred by some of the guys in there that said, you got to come out and be part of this. But he, like you're saying, special operations, like he researched the area, knew the ranch, found a place where he said, I can go there and no one will ever find me again. Like, he had in his mind, that was going to be his last moments on earth. Like, and he said, this is the place to do it. I'm going to go walk out there. Nobody will find me. Hogs will take care of the rest. So nobody has to worry about me anymore. And for him to write about what that experience meant to him, and that's literally saving his life that weekend, that was one of those that not only shared with the team, those that are part of this, but the sponsors that are helping fund this, to say, hey, your money, your support, your time is going into a place where it's making an impact. And I've always said this to me, if every time we host an event, that or something similar for one person happens, it's cliche a little bit, but it's true. Right. Because these individuals, when you create that connection, that impact that changes their lives, they're just wired to then go and pay that forward for one, but then continue to just expand that network around them and bring more guys in and just make an impact on their community.
Right.
And we're seeing that here in Parker County too. We've had a lot of veterans just come and be a part of this now that we got an office opened up. We had a Memorial Day event. Gary, you came out to that. Appreciate that. Yeah. We had several veterans that knew nothing about us, saw us on Facebook, and we had a connection. And now we have a place where they can come and be a part. And that's kind of one of the important aspects of that to me, was like have a physical place where somebody's having a hard time or something like that. They can come and just visit and just be a part of it. And
that's an amazing story. Like, wow. I don't know.
And here's the thing, like, that was one that one person decided to share. Yeah. Like, a lot of these guys are pretty private.
They're not going to share that.
And I'll tell you right now, one of the veteran that actually received our first service dogs, so we're actually doing service dogs now. I'd love to talk about that here in a second. How that
for sure.
As well. But he came and spoke at our event. He came back to serve back because every time we do the hog hunt, we say, hey, if any of the previous alumni, what kind of term alumni, want to come back and serve and be a part of it, you're open to do that. And he did, and he was part of that first 2019 group.
Okay.
And last year he spoke kind of out there, and he said very similar situation, like he was pretty much done. Yeah. And becoming a part of this community, becoming a part of this family, saved his life. Yeah. And so to hear those kinds of things from these types of individuals is pretty powerful.
He gives back because he's the one that makes all the awards, all the placards, all the cool stuff that they give away at all their
that's right
skeet shoots and
he is
fishing
most
tournaments.
of these guys are super talented.
Yeah,
in a lot of
really
ways.
talented.
And that's what we as an organization want to do as well. Is like, how do we get back to what they're trying to do? Because he's trying to stand that business up where that's he can pull out of kind of the corporate world that doesn't fit him as well. It's like, hey, if there's a way we can do that and support them, and me too, for sure. And I think that's probably why I love being a part of this. This kind of feels like my tribe, even though I wasn't in the military.
Right.
When I'm with these individuals, man, it just feels like home. Like it just, we're all kind of on the same wavelength. Been through some experiences in life, not exactly similar, obviously, but challenges. Even growing up on the ranch, kind of life and death from an animal side of things, a daily thing, and so you have a little bit of different perspective that they can relate to. So
that's awesome. That's awesome. So we've been to a handful of events. We've done the ski shoot.
the sweat box seat shape.
Oh, that was the hottest.
Man, I'm trying to get a different date.
Willis looked like an old stagecoach rider out there with his double barrel blasting every clay that flew.
The amount of ice and water we went through in that event was pretty impressive. I would say that for sure.
It was.
But the fact that people would come out, even though we knew it was going to be hot, for that and for us, I mean, it meant the world to us. And it let us know really that, and even the weather, like during the hog hunt, nothing ever kind of stops us from rolling forward. And that's why I always feel like there's something way bigger than us, helping guide this area forward.
Well, and my favorite so far, I really like the clay shoot. That was my first time shooting. I had just bought a little 20 gauge side by side Browning from like this 80s. I'd always wanted one. I like the sight profile. But anyway, I did really
you shot
well.
with a side by side?
I did. Yeah,
that's awesome.
And a 20 gauge. Get that? Yes. Yeah. First time shooting again. It was great. But man, my favorite was the banquet that y'all did. Whiskey and War Stories. Man, that was well done. I know you were nervous because it was your first kind of thing like that, but man, y'all put on a great event.
That was an event.
That was an event.
Yeah,
like
for sure.
If you're watching and you live in Parker County, you have to do that. Like it is amazing food, amazing people, amazing music, whiskey.
Right.
I mean, it was great.
I'll kind of tell the story of how that started. We've always wanted to kind of, like I said at that event, we've always wanted to kind of do a gala, but it just the typical gala just didn't seem right for us at the time. And so we connected with Horse Soldier Bourbon. And that was actually the year prior to, because we were wanting to have an opportunity at our hog hunt in the evenings to be like, how can we just allow this connection to kind of just naturally happen where we're sitting around, and just having a conversation like this.
Right.
And so we got connected with Horse Soldier Bourbon, and they came out and hosted kind of a cocktail evening hour at the main lodge at the ranch. Yeah. And they saw what we were about. We saw what they were about. They were a great organization. I encourage anybody to go look them up because they just have an interesting origin story.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, so quick kind of high level is the first invasion after 9/11 was called ODA 595. It was a special forces group, Green Beret group that went into Afghanistan. They made the movie 12 Strong about them, or about that invasion where they kind of went horseback and did all these just amazing things in a very small group of special operators. And several of those members of that unit came back and stood up Horse Soldier Bourbon Distillery. And the stories they have of how they integrate, even how they make their bottles, which they were actually able to talk to the government and get some of the steel from the towers from 9/11, and they make their bottle cask out of those. So each bottle is pressed by steel from 9/11, which is amazing to me.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And the story behind what they do, and they're like any, kind of like we talked about, these individuals, they don't just do things to do things. They do it at a very high level. So their whiskey is incredible. Their story that they were able to kind of come and tell the untold stories of that night. And to have Mark Nooch there, the commander of that unit, which I gave him a hard time. I was like, they casted Chris Hemsworth for you, man. You sure about that? He's like, yeah, they had to Hollywood me up a little bit. But just an amazing guy. They're actually leaving. I was talking to him yesterday. They're leaving in a few days to go to Normandy.
Are they okay?
For the 80th anniversary of D-Day. And that's one of the reasons why we actually hosted that gala was actually a partnership with them. So we were co-raising funds for not only Big Country veterans, but to help with that operation that they were doing called Operation 80, where they're taking veterans and sponsors and those to Normandy and doing a drop on D-Day out there in France. And so it's like a 10-day in-country experience, and they're doing a replicated drop out of World War II plane, static line of all things, for D-Day. And so that's going to be happening in the next few weeks.
Yeah, that was a cool event. The stories, I forgot which one was telling the story, but they essentially got into the mountains, and obviously in the Afghan mountains, you're not running your vehicles up and down those mountains, and so the next option was a herd of Arabian stallion horses,
Right.
And so, and most of them had never even swung a leg over a horse.
Too many. Yeah.
Holy smokes! I can just envision, because I just started riding like, I don't know, 5 or 6 years ago, and so I'm thinking to myself, I've got like my horse. I always tell it, I push the button. She's like a Cadillac. That's what I want. Like I don't. We're not negotiating. It's just it's a dictatorship. She goes and does her thing, and I don't get bucked off. But this guy was telling the story how this stallion he was on just decided to just turn and go like essentially straight down the mountain. So I'm thinking hunting in Colorado up on some huge mountain. Oh, yeah. And they're not saddled. They're not nothing. They're like cardboard boxes for saddles.
Yeah, I think they were using cow pelvis bones with like blankets over the top is what their saddles technically were.
So there's not much there. And he was telling this story about this horse, and just took off down the mountain. I'm thinking the whole time, I'm going, I would have bailed.
Well, that's Will Summers. It's an amazing guy. I went prior to our event. They were hosting kind of another Whiskey and War Stories where he was talking about that same deal and referenced the Man from Snowy River.
Oh yeah,
yes,
that's what
it was in Dallas, and nothing against Dallas, but like the room was just like dead quiet. And I'm like, I was like, oh, I'm not supposed to clap on that one. But I was like, talk to him afterwards. I was like, Will, if you tell that story in Weatherford, trust me, everybody in that room is going to understand that reference. And maybe even sing the theme song to that. And it did. It happened. I was like, man, you were right. I was like, I know this is people that understand that world for sure. So and that's really why I wanted to do it out here. There's such a connection to the horses in that world, and even how I grew up. And having it out there at Parker County, the event center at the rodeo grounds was just perfect. And it's just it's kind of a great thing all around.
Yeah, it was a great event. What else? What else you got coming down the pipe?
So we have a couples retreat in 3 weeks roughly. So we're gonna be hosting that out at the ranch out there. Cool. Couples are coming out, like I said, the python hunt, and then we have a New Mexico fly fishing trip up in at the San Juan River.
Oh, nice.
And that's a really cool origin of that as well. It actually started again with a fishing trip that was being like donated for auction at the event. But the guy that was doing it is actually the chief of police there in Durango. And he just does this on the side, but just an amazing human being, amazing family. Yeah. And that's what we try to find with these additional trips, and that it's not, the trip is fun, and we try to find pretty unique opportunities to do some things, but it's the people who host them and the people that are a part of it. And where no matter where you go or what you do, you just kind of feel that Big Country Veterans like family home feeling. And so it's been amazing to stand those kind of events up and just get people like that behind us and a part of it. And it's growing. Like it's kind of interesting that, and y'all probably can relate to this, is like wearing every hat. Talking about not only we're talking nonprofit world, but like standing up kind of a new business and a new organization. Where you like I was doing everything. Obviously we had the board and we had sport there, but kind of boots on the ground. And I realized quickly like I should not be doing everything. It's not necessarily exactly my skill set in all those avenues. So having team members that can be a part of that now, and businesses and organizations that are getting behind us and donating things, and man, it's just great to see it grow, and it really has done it organically. And I think there's a lot to be said about that as well. So.
I think that gives you, when I look at our business, that same kind of deal. It gives you like if it's in our world, if you were just buying leads or that sort of kind of lead generation, it's hard to have that in the beginning to get that base, that foundation. And I think it's for us, it's been just getting that kind of the same grassroots efforts that y'all have done, and it's definitely one of the things that I see in our business, that building that foundation, that I feel like if the market will ever get better and interest rates will the snowball will pick up some more speed. But man, it's awesome.
Well, I think goodness attracts goodness in a way, and so when you meet people like that, and especially in the veteran community that we do, they'll always be cordial. They'll be nice, but they won't let you in until they kind of know, and they in essence vet you out a little bit.
Sure.
But once they do, and that's been a big part of our growth, is in there exposing you to this network of just amazing people.
Yeah.
And same thing here, how we got started. I don't know if y'all ever knew how we got part of Parker County. Well, I guess it's not East Parker County anymore. Parker County Chamber. I took my son out to eat at Chick-fil-A here in Hudson Oaks after a basketball tournament in Alito, just for as like celebration. Good job, buddy. And I was sitting next to this amazing family, many generations. Like I had 3 generations of that family next to me, and just kind of eavesdropping a little bit, hearing what they were saying. I was like, man, this is incredible. I love this community. I love this county. And so I reached over and said, I really appreciate what y'all are doing, and your family and being here. And it led into a conversation of finding out that was actually Mayor Moss in the park. So Doyle was right there. I talked to him, kind of explained a little bit about what I was doing with Big Country Veterans, and that was like almost a year ago today, roughly. And he said, "Come meet with me. I'd love to learn more." So he did. Yeah. He said, "One thing I'd like to do, I'd like to sponsor you being a part at that time East Parker County Chamber." Yeah. And so that's what led us getting into that. It would probably not have been on the radar for me again coming into the new world. Like, do you really need to be part chamber? And we didn't have an actual physical location and things like that. And it's just been such a blessing to be a part of that, meeting you guys for one. Many other organizations here, and that's what I love about Parker County is there's a lot of collaboration and people helping each other.
Well, I still remember first time I met you. You were hustling out in the parking lot, and you were talking to Doyle, and you came over and talked to me. I was like, okay. And then I got you and Gary, and it was. But yeah, man, you're a hustler. Man, y'all are doing great.
It's if it makes sense when you're doing something you're passionate about. It's hard work, but it's not hard. Right. Like it's a story that I believe in. It's not a hard thing to tell about, and it's just something that has become literally part of my life. As well. So
well, it's awesome.
No,
that's what we do.
Dude, I'm telling you, that's the kind of stuff that I want to be able to capture. And it's hard. I think the hard thing for us as business owners, and it's how do you tell that story? Like, you can't make that stuff up. Right. That what you, and it's not even in comparison to what that guy was going through, but to be able to tell that story and to see it come out the other end. And that's the thing that, from a business standpoint, I struggle with. And I was just talking to one of our guys yesterday, is like, we have to, it's hard to say, hey, we're the best in the business. Our process is the greatest. Come work with us. But until you've really gotten into the weeds, and our partners don't even get to see it, because our process, Susan in the back end, is got the building's on fire, and nobody else knows what's going on, and it's that part is telling that story. It's hard to do, but you guys, the stories. Just
Well, that's
amazing.
where I think I talked to you the other day about it too. Is like our season as an organization now is really trying to tell the story the right way more than we've had the opportunity. Like when we're in person or we're having events, like it's great and it's powerful.
Yep.
But to expand out beyond that to reach those that this is something they would love to get behind, either from a physical like location limitation, and or even like thinking $10 or $20 doesn't make a difference, but it does. And be able to show them that and be a part of that and kind of take them on the story. And so, from a marketing side of things as an organization, that's really kind of a big focus of us throughout the rest of the year, really. And making sure, obviously, we have enough funding to do what we need to, but then kind of, I would say, I always learn these great military phrases from these guys, like an operational pause. So I was talking to one of our veterans, actually the one that's running our hunting, fishing, outdoor adventure trip that we're terming the Rally Point program, which is really cool because it started out as continued camaraderie initiative, and that's what I put on. I was like, man, that doesn't sound right at all. It's like, dude, we got to think of a better name than that. So he's like, what about Rally Point? It's like when we were in the military, like when things got separated or we needed to come back together, we always had a rally point. So these like hunting, fishing, outdoor adventure trips, are considered rally points for these guys to come back together and do that. Well, anyways, I was talking to him, and he goes, when we would invade a city or something would happen, we would kind of get all separated. And we needed to pause for a minute to reconvene, to see what resources we have, see what direction we need to go, do all that. We call it operational pause. So we'd do that, come together, meeting of the minds, where do we need to go, what do we do, and then go execute. Instead of just continuing to push, I think that's something I fell into kind of as, in essence, a startup business where you're just pushing that rock uphill, man. You just keep on pushing, when in reality, you have some momentum going. Maybe you need to pause for a minute, not push that rock so hard, and see what other people can then come in and help you push.
That's a great point.
So that's where we're at right now, to see how we can tell the story the right way. Because that was always important to me. I don't want to just throw stuff out there, content out there, just to throw it out there. I want it to have some depth and meaning and really showcase what we're trying to do as an organization. So that's where we're at right now. Are we going to be perfect at it? No, obviously not. But just like what you guys are doing with the podcast, things like that, getting the word out there, getting the consistency. You never know what connection's going to be made. It's crazy. I sometimes hear these stories of random people at our hog hunt that I don't even know were there sometimes, now networking, connecting, and doing things in the world. It's just like, because we created that environment and that place to be, that community, that,
Mark was able to connect with a realtor in Florida. From the hog hunt.
Oh,
so,
cool,
I don't know if you knew that. But
I didn't know that. See, there you go. Perfect example.
So,
Perfect
A
example.
lot of stuff going on behind the scenes for sure.
And that's what's kind of, to me as a leader, when those hard times happen, when you kind of feel isolated on top of that mountain, to know those things are happening, it kind of helps you through the hard times, for sure.
I'm sure there's dozens of stories that you don't even get to hear of because of all the stuff that's flying by you through those weekends. And,
But that's what God gets to do when you just give people an opportunity to be together.
I agree.
It's one of those things.
Community.
Always, I eat out a lot, as you can tell. But, but one of the reasons is because it gives me opportunities to be out around people. And 9 times out of 10, I'm probably going to go in, eat my food, walk out. But sometimes you hear someone talking next to you. And you can connect with them, and you never know what's going to happen, just like you with Joel Moss. I mean,
you talk about the two kind of things come up, like just taking that opportunity when you just feel that inside you to do it. I'm real big on that. My wife thinks I'm crazy. She's like, you talk to everybody, but I think if that conversation, for example, with Mayor Moss wouldn't have happened, like we literally wouldn't be sitting here probably.
And you wouldn't have the building that you have now because that was a connection that came from the chamber.
That's exactly right. Well, I'll tell you one story of kind of even further beyond that. The first year we hosted the hog hunt event, like I was talking about, I was just literally a volunteer, helping and being a part of it. There was one veteran that my big part of that was like, hey, let's do a concert. Well, I'll bring a band down. I have a connection. Well, I quickly realized, like, these guys don't care about that. They want to just hang out. Like, they could care less. But there was one veteran that came up, and I was kind of by myself in the back, and he started talking to me.
Mm-hmm.
And we made a connection. And over the next 2 to 3 hours, we just visited.
Yeah.
And shared stories. It's kind of like my long-lost brother.
Yeah.
Anyway. Well, when we had an opportunity to take the event over, he was the first person I called from a veteran side of things to be like, hey, man, we got a month and a half to pull this off. Like, logistically, we don't know how to bring veterans here. Like, there's a lot of things. He said, y'all just make it happen. I'll make sure the right veterans get here, that it will be impactful for them. He said, no matter what you do, they're going to just getting them together again. Yeah. That's what's going to mean the most to them.
Yeah.
And he was exactly right. And that's what's now led to the veteran selection that we do and the veterans that we bring on board.
Yeah.
What really brought it real to us, to me specifically, is he was one of those guys that was trying to heal himself. Like, he was trying to find ways to do it.
Yeah.
He was doing anything from meditation to cold water immersion to just all these different avenues to help be a part of that, or to help his situation.
Right.
And 2 years ago, a little over now, I got a call, and they said Dan took his life.
Man.
And we're like, what? And for one, like, me personally, I didn't see it coming.
Yeah.
I'd just been talking to him about doing some stuff with us, and for someone that close, it became kind of a brother to me. And people were after that hit home that, like, this is real.
Yeah.
Like, this is real. And that's why I think I'm so passionate about when we have the opportunity to connect with them, let's do something real.
Yeah.
Let's do something meaningful. Let's do something impactful. Let's listen to them. Let's help create things that will do that for them. Just like one of our board members, Mike Gorman, he came on board and said, hey, man, there's 2 things in my life that really changed my life after I got out. It was becoming part of the BCV family and my service dog. I was like, well, why don't we do that? So then we connected with the trainer that trained his dog. Now she's training dogs for us. She's up in Ohio, just an amazing human being. Awesome. Really great at what she does. We have 4 dogs in training right now.
Yeah.
And so just like that motto with that program says, like, there when it matters most, that's what we want to try to be, I think, as an organization. And it takes connecting with a lot of people to do that, and bringing communities together.
Sure.
Where then people are helping each other out behind the scenes that I don't even know about.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, yeah.
That's awesome.
But yeah, that's it's crazy. I've been kind of feeling his hand within, even though I know he took his life, just kind of continuing to kind of be there and be a part of it. It's been powerful.
Yeah.
To say the least.
No, you guys are doing. And unfortunately, I think we've all been, whether it's somebody with a military background or not, there's a family member, a friend, an acquaintance, and there's that kind of, you don't know, you won't know, and unless they don't do it, right? And then you get the letter, right? The guy says, look, you know what, you saved my life, and that's the part that, when we first started hearing your story, I was like, man, this is, because the thing is like, it's hard. You want to work with everybody, but you guys do a great job of, like, getting as many folks involved as you can, but then also not diluting out your mission, right, of helping folks, because if there's 200 people at this event, they're going to have fun, but it's not going to do it's not going to do exactly what you want it to do in most cases. And so that's, I think, why it's super important, and that's why we're behind it 100%, and really
appreciate that.
The whatever we can give, or come to an event, or bring a group to the shoot.
I would love that.
Old stagecoach Willie over here.
Yeah.
I know, man.
Do it with a 410 next time. It's too easy with my 20 gauge.
You just got to bring that back out and shoot from the hip.
Yeah.
So I can get
I want him in full, like, like 18
Chaps and everything.
Yeah, I want the full stagecoach gear. We'll pull up in the Wells Fargo wagon.
Yes. All right, done. We can do that. Let's make a call.
Yeah.
Make a call.
And hopefully it's 105, so you can wear
Yeah, it's just
wool pants and
Oh
just
my gosh.
dying.
Oh man.
No one wants that. No one wants that.
Yeah, more or less
smell.
you don't want it.
Yeah. Oh
So-
man.
But no, I think what I would like to tell both of you is, I know you say this sometimes, like, what we can do or enough. The fact that anything that's being done in the
Right.
right way makes an impact.
Sure.
Like, I think people need to understand that. If it's just your time,
Yeah.
to me, time is probably the most valuable thing in the world, obviously.
Absolutely.
And so those that have donated their time, if they have funding, that's great. But it's the genuineness of the people that have gotten behind us
Yeah.
that has been successful for us. And as a leader of a company, both of you, for those that get involved, when the time comes where I need services that you provide, I know where I'm going.
Yeah.
And I think
Don't call Mark.
no, don't worry. That's for sure. But I think you guys are doing it right, in
Thanks.
my opinion. And we're honored to have you a part of we turn the Big Country Veterans family. So
Yeah.
appreciate y'all being a part of that with us.
Yeah. It was pretty cool. Obviously not military backgrounds, but we got presented with a couple of the challenge coins from Big Country Veterans the other day, and Mark was able to present that to us, and that hit
Really
home.
special.
Like, that was
I mean,
cool.
it hit
Yep.
chills.
Yeah.
All of it. It was
'Cause we
amazing.
know what that means to that community. Sure. And so it's an important thing. So we don't take that.
Yeah.
I like
Mark,
it.
do you have yours on you?
Oh,
Brought mine in just in case.
mine's in the office.
Uh-oh.
No.
Get
All
him.
right, we're buying
Buying
whiskey.
We're buying the drinks.
Warhorse whiskey on us.
No, I think that's what's been great too. Even anything we do, we reach out to our veterans to be a part of that. So that's all designed, help made by those who have been through the program, really understand what it's about. So those that might know, and I could share an image so you can share it on here too.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
the back of the coin just kind of shows the Big Country Veterans family. So it's got horseback, it's got a family with a young kid being a part of that, service dog, all those things that have kind of become part of our community now.
That's awesome.
And you guys are part of it, so we really appreciate that.
Awesome. Well, we're here to support in any way, and I would encourage anybody that is. It doesn't matter. I mean, obviously, we're here in Parker County, Texas, but if you're, it doesn't matter.
Anywhere.
Check out Big Country Veterans. If you can, like Cody said, volunteer, time, money, whatever y'all can do to help out. I guess in closing, what's the best way to? Why don't you kind of give them the?
Yeah, so you can contact us or look us up on the website, bigcountryveterans.org. We have Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, also at Big Country Veterans. Any of those sites will get you to kind of an ability to learn more about us, but then also have some ability to donate either one time or reoccurring if that's something you'd like to do. And then I encourage you to start looking at those because, like we mentioned before, that communication piece, that marketing piece is really getting stood up on our side to learn more about what we're really doing. Where these are no longer conversations in a room; they're being able to be seen and heard and really experienced by you as a part of it. Even though you might not be at the event or able to do that, you can still see what your contribution is impacting. So.
Very cool.
That's awesome. We're excited to see the next events that are coming up, and obviously Mark's going to be sending me fishing pictures again, and we're going to have an offline conversation, Cody. And but no, we're excited for you. Anything we can do to help out, we're a phone call away. So if you're out there, make sure if you can. I think this is going to be share this episode. Like the business stuff aside. Get this out. People need to know about this organization, and we appreciate you coming in.
Well, thank you all very much.
Yeah,
It was an
thank
honor.
you.
Thanks.
Good deal.
Bye.